Welcome to Unstapled Commander. Welcome to Unstapled Commander. I'm Jason, Maddie, and Alex. Today we're going to have a little different episode. Today, we're going to be more of a general discussion. We're going to be talking about Rule 0, or any kind of talk that we have at the table before we play a game. Kind of gauge where everybody's decks are at and try to have a little. Before we jump into that, though, today's Commander Spotlight, Elminster, one of Jason's favorite decks. Jason, you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So I have a deck built, the Commander's Elminster, which is a Planeswalker. His plus ability allows me to draw a card, then scry 2. And his minus ability allows me to exile the top card of my library and then create X 1/1s, where X is the mana value of the card I exile. 1/1 Dragon Fairies. And then he has a static ability that says, whenever you scry, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast costs X less to cast, where X is the number of cards you scried. Something along those lines. I'm sure I butchered that. But I want to tell you guys about this deck because this is a deck, and we'll get into this later, that I would not just pull out in a random group of strangers because it does a lot of things that they would not appreciate. The goal of this deck, the way it wins, is mostly by casting Mass Polymorph. I've talked to you guys about that card before. It's the one that exiles all the creatures I have on the battlefield, and then I flip cards off the top of my library until I reveal that many creatures, and then I put those creatures onto the battlefield. And so, like we've talked about, I'm trying to get out really, really powerful cards like Hullbreaker Horror or Elish Norn or Jin-Gitaxias or stuff like that. Things that are going to allow me to kill people through combat damage, but control them while doing so. The reason that I probably wouldn't play this in a casual game would be because it takes a lot of extra turns. The ability that Elminster has that allows me to reduce the cost of instants and sorceries that I cast by scrying, it allows me to cast a lot of extra turn spells, and then he's also drawing me cards and he's fixing my hand for the next turn, and he just really allows me to cycle through my deck really quickly and find those extra turn spells until I can do what I want to do. Usually by around turn 4, sometimes earlier, sometimes a little later, I've kind of got the board state locked down. And I'm killing people with lethal through the creatures that I've gotten from Mass Polymorph. So it's a deck that I really, really enjoy, but a lot of people do not enjoy playing it against me because of the extra turns, which I think is one of the things that we'll talk about a lot with this Rule 0. And so that's pretty much how Elminster works for me.
Nice.
I wanted to ask, why did you build it like that?
I wanted to build a deck that worked with Mass Polymorph really well, and when I saw that commander, I knew that he would be able to do it. And then I just decided to build it in the most powerful way possible, because there are some other people in our play groups that were also trying to build decks that were around power level 7 and 8, borderline CEDH. And so this is the one that I decided to build to compete with those other decks.
Right. You bring a great point up about that power level, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, I've played against this deck multiple times. It can be oppressive by turn 4, and it sucks to play, but it's also fun because it's a puzzle.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever beat this deck.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
Feels bad. Feels terrible. I mean, maybe I could kill you with Greven. Maybe.
Yeah. I think
That's a
Greven
really
or
good deck.
Beamtown could possibly
Dude,
pull it off.
I've tried my hardest to get down. It spoiled me.
March of the Swirling Mist, man.
card. Yeah. Well, to jump back into our discussion, we're going to be talking about Rule Zero today, like I said. Basically, we're going to be talking about what information do we expect to get from our opponents to help kind of figure things out. What information do we use to rank the decks in our head, to power rank the deck, try to figure out where the group, how our discussion has changed over time as we've played more and more Commander, because we play a lot of Commander. And does the commander of the deck play a significant role in deciding what the power level of the deck is? Start us off, I was just going to talk about how I really think the commander of the deck plays a huge role, whether or not the deck is powerful or not, in my mind. There's certain commanders in the game, like Atraxa, like Turgid, like Magda, like Urza, that their decks are really hard to build badly. You can stack any pile of 99 cards together, and as long as you're putting artifacts in Urza, you're putting discard in Turgid, as long as you're putting some sort of counters in Atraxa, it's going to be pretty good.
I agree with
Yeah,
that.
for sure. I personally, when I go up to a group of new players, I don't really love the Rule Zero conversation. Part of that's because the first thing they say is, "Oh, what power level are we going for today?" And then everybody just says what they think their power levels are. And through my experience, everybody's ideas of power levels are so wildly skewed that just has a negative impact on the game. And not only that, but a lot of times I feel like I just get straight up lied to. So I don't love the conversation at all. I think it's basically just on the person that's trying to run some taboo kind of deck to announce that before they start. If you're playing a casual game and you're not running stacks or land destruction or extra turns, something like that, then go ahead and play whatever deck you want. You know, you're not trying to infinite combo on turn 4 and win the game, then yeah, play a casual deck. I don't really care. Let's have some fun. But if you're coming in to do that thing, you need to tell some people. You need to tell your play group that, hey, this is what I'm looking to play. Are you guys good with that? You guys, and then they can change their decks that they wanted to play. Maybe bump it up a little bit past casual if they need to. So I don't. But I think most of the time, the conversation that people have at the start is not good. It has a negative impact on the game.
Yeah, that's why. I mean,
Mhm.
I think a lot of people don't really understand what Zero really.
Well, I just want to say real quick, just kind of feed off Jason's point. You say you keep the casual. You gotta let me know if you're playing these taboo cards or taboo archetypes. But what if in my mind it is a casual format? I don't have the best of the best. I'm not talking about, oh, I took out Mox Diamond out of my Urza, so it's budget casual. I'm talking about like if I built a land destruction deck, but I don't want to pay for all like the great land destruction cards, but I have still a bunch in there. Do I have to tell you that? Like that just, I feel like that gives away what my deck is too. I feel that
Yeah, and that really sucks when you have to give away what your deck is. I agree, but it's not like it doesn't matter how efficiently you're destroying lands. It's going to piss people off, and like maybe not myself or others. It wouldn't piss off as bad if you were doing it poorly, but if you're doing it, it's going to make people mad. And unfortunately, they're just there to try to have fun. So I think you should, try to do the same with them without ruining their night.
yeah, but
Well,
that's hypocritical. Trying to have fun, I have fun destroying your lands. That's not to beat a dead horse, and we'll get more
Yeah, but
into this, but it's
you can easily pull out a different deck that you enjoy playing and they enjoy playing against. Or if you tell them, I want to destroy your lands, they can say, okay, I'll play a more powerful deck. And then everybody's having fun. But if you go in and they're playing a really crappy deck against land destruction, they can't really fight against that. They're not going to have any fun at all, guaranteed. And like you said, if you build a really crappy version of it, I that's better, but they're still going to be upset when they lose their lands, right? Like that's just it's just a taboo thing in Commander right now, which I don't know. We're not discussing whether or not it should be, but it currently is.
Yeah,
Right?
and I agree with
Would you
that.
agree with that? Okay.
In a sense, there's too many people that play solitaire Commander, which I think that kind of leads into this whole conversation. I like the rule 0 because are we looking to play fast? Or are we looking to play infinite combos? Or I have weird cards. It's every deck can win no matter what. Like you could play an Animar deck with the crappiest 40 creatures and still win because it's Animar. Like, it's those kind of commanders, and then that's where Alex is talking about. There's certain commanders. Yeah, it's a power level 9-10 commander, and there's only a few of them. Like Urza's one, but you have to build it for that. But if you build Urza with an artifact, you've already got halfway there. You're already power level 7 no matter what, because it's built around that commander. It's that commander is so powerful, it already has those effects to it. And I just want to say is like I'd rather play against it and know, okay, well if this guy first pulls this deck out, I got to go to a higher power level. I'd rather kind of lose and learn from it than set off the bat. Oh, well, I'm playing this, and okay, well this is what I'm playing, and you instantly play. Oh, I'm pulling my highest deck out. I think I like to have that like okay, well, kind of mystery. Like okay, they might have this commander, like what's your commander, Alex? Your
Toontown Bully.
no, the black and red one, the new one that you're running.
Oh,
Revan.
Black Greven.
Yeah, like I'll watch you like sack your whole life. Like you'll go down to like no health and swing and kill somebody, but then you're all back to like double your health, and it's like okay, that's really cool to watch. So it's just something I enjoy, and I wouldn't get that if I asked you what's your deck do, so I can judge what I'm going to play. Oh, I'm going to play my stacked deck, which means you can't pay life.
No, that's why I said nobody should talk about their decks unless you're being that guy that's trying to go in and do something that nobody wants to play against.
Well,
But
honest,
like I see both your point of views. Sorry, I see both of your point of views, Maddie. Like it sucks to have to go in and say, okay, this is what my deck do. Maybe you can go in and say, hey, my deck's pretty powerful. Maybe pull out something else that's powerful. It's probably a bit above a casual deck. Then you don't have to tell your secrets of about the fact that you're going to try to destroy all their lands, right?
But the rebuttal that we have a play group that says we play casual Magic, and yeah, it's technically casual. We're not throwing down heavy like $300 cards every turn, but a lot of these decks have this interaction where it's not casual, because casual means I can go buy a precon off the shelf, sleeve it up, and shuffle up and play with you. I'm not going to probably win. My chances to win are so low, but casual means that I can grab that and play with you. Like, that's the worst point, and that's why you ask, like, when you've got to ask and kind of judge the area, and so it leads up to the person. It's more of that moral high ground. Where do you sit? Oh, I don't run fast mana, so I'm casual, but you have every other great card in every other color. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and a precon can win games.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely.
But it's not likely to. Does that make sense?
Well, no, yeah, it's not likely to, but there's always that chance, and I'd rather deal with getting my behind kicked than, oh, well, you can't play that deck because I've only got a power level, quote unquote, 4, which the whole power level system's kind of busted.
Power levels.
Yeah, it's hard to judge them by power levels. But it's also, I don't want to ruin someone because, like, oh, I just built this cool deck, and I don't really know what it does, but I've got all these cool cards, and you're like, oh, well, those cards are all high-powered cards, that's a high-powered deck. And you're like, well, I don't understand the combos, like, I guess. You know what I mean? I hate to instantly put someone in that bubble or, like, kind of circle that they can't get out of because of who they want to play as a commander.
Are you specifically talking about our commanders or our decks?
Well, just in general. But it's like, back to what Alex said, talking about specific commanders changing your mindset. Like, you see them, you're like, okay, well, I'm playing high power now. But who knows what your Beantown Bullies, when I see that one, I don't think instant high power, but I also know you. So I know it's high power. You built that deck to compete. And I just think it's, if we instantly cut down and say you can't play that deck because we know it's high power. Well,
maybe this is a question for Alex. Would you go to a random group of people that you have no idea who they are and just sit down and nobody says a word to each other? Would you just pull out Beantown Bullies?
No. That's just my personality. I'm not going to lead with my strongest deck.
I wouldn't,
because I want to have fun. I'm not gonna. If I want to end the game quickly, I'll play Greven or Beantown Bullies. but that's because I know that I can reliably keep someone on. And I don't
Mhm.
want to do that if I just want to sit down and play command.
Like I said, I think it's up to you. Like, it's up to everybody personally to make sure they're not playing a deck that, like, I know Elminster is too oppressive. He knows Beamtown Bullies is too oppressive for a casual group. You know that your Stranger Kids deck is too oppressive for a casual group because you have Thassa's Oracle and Demonic Consultation in it. It's just
That's not the
you
way,
know,
COD.
but you know before you start that people would not be okay with that happening on turn 3, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Jason, you had a story about this exact thing happening to you, where someone told you that you were playing against a budget deck, and what ended up happening.
Yeah, so me and Alex and Maddie, we went to Lehigh for their command con. It was a lot of fun. So don't take this story as a negative experience, but as a negative review for the experience. It was a lot of fun, but I sat down with a group, and a guy sitting next to me pulls out Magda, and he says, "Oh, don't worry, this is a budget deck. It's fine." I'm like, "All right, I'm skeptical, but let's see how it goes." Well, long story short, his entire deck was on the battlefield on like turn 4, and it comboed, and he vomited everything onto the board on like 4. Like, yeah, so it's budget, but it's still Magda. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
You can still build it strong. And
Well,
so
that's
I
the
just
thing, is like Magda budget like $50, right? Because all the dwarfs only cost like
It was
But-
50 cents. Or $50,
Yeah.
I mean.
but Magda turns every dwarf into treasure, and that's easy value.
Yeah.
so it's on everybody individually to analyze their decks and say, is this too high, or not too high power level, too taboo? Is this
Oppressive.
oppressive? Does it do any of the taboo things?
So,
To
question.
either mention it or don't play it.
Well, that's just you put the stigmatizer on what this taboo is, and it's like I don't
Well,
agree
everybody
with it.
knows it's the rule 0. It's the unwritten rule of Commander. Everybody knows. Like,
What are the
Yeah.
unwritten rules of command? Let's
Yeah,
break them down
what-
right now. So don't play land destruction.
I doubt we'll hit them all, but we can try.
Well, I mean, just like in our
Yeah.
play group, don't play land destruction.
Land
Extra
destruction,
turns are kind of frowned on.
backs are kind of frowned on.
Stacks, counterspell, tribal,
Yeah, just heavy control is kind of, and
heavy
then
control would be a better way to put it. Yeah.
infect.
Infect.
People don't love
Infect
being
is a huge
infected.
one.
I don't have that one.
You
Infect's
what?
a huge one.
I don't have that one. Every other one we've named so far, I've got a deck of. So.
Maddie just loves building these taboo kind of decks. And that's okay. Like, I don't mind, but I worry for Maddie playing in casual or random pods
Hey,
because of the decks
Maddie,
that he likes.
you should tell your story. Your casual pod.
All right. Okay,
Don't mention names or stores.
I won't. No, I
Yeah.
won't. A few months ago, I was out of town. And I went to a local LGS. It was a good experience. Like, I found this place, great reviews. Super excited. I called the shop to make sure they were playing Commander because I didn't want to drive because it was a little bit out from where I was staying. So I was like, okay, I'll call, make sure. And they're like, yeah, it's casual Commander. I'm like, oh, cool, casual. I asked real quick, how are we on proxies, like combos? Like, is that cool? He's like, yeah, it's just casual, man. Come have fun, play Magic. And I'm like, okay, that right there should have been a red flag, but it wasn't. Come play fun Magic. Casual, it's this is what we're talking about. It's casual. What is that? And we'll get to that. I get to the card shop. I go and walk in, and there's only there's 3 people. The guy up front, and then the back room where their tables are. And there's 3 people playing a game. Seems to be, I think, player 3's turn. They're rotating through. And I say, oh, hey, are you guys almost done? Do you need a 4th? And I know they don't need to respond right away. You're in the middle of a game. Usually we don't respond right away unless you're not paying attention. And so I was like, okay, wait another time. Still nothing. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I went to go look up front at cards. Another group came in, and I played with them. I sat down with them. They let me play with them. They pull out Shrines, and I think it was Samut, the red-green haste one. Yeah, Samut. And I was like,
think that's fair.
And so I was like, okay, well, first time I'm gonna play Stranger Kids. It's my favorite deck, which we just talked about not being okay at a casual group. But I just saw Goshintai and this one, and I know both those commanders are very high powered. Am I using my prejudice from our group? So I'm breaking up the story a little bit because I want to talk about it. So I played Stranger Kids because yes, it's not technically what you guys were just casual, but I can pull back how I play. I don't have to pull Demonic Constellation out first. I can play one of my other win cons. But anyway, so I start playing, and lo and behold, I get Dockside and Deadeye Navigator combo, infinite mana, and then I get a Marinette Master, win the game. Easy as that. Second game rolls around.
What did they say to you?
They're like, oh, well, we don't do combos here. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, that's important to the story.
yeah, that's important. So I'm like, okay, well, I told them this too. I told you guys this. I told them, I'm like, I really got combo decks as a spell slinger deck. It just makes a lot of mana to cast big X spells. I'm like, oh, that's fine. They said it was fine, so I did it. So play my Vadrix Astral Mage decks, which you'll hear a Commander Spotlight in the future on. And Alex likes the joke, and so does Jason, Counterspell Tribal. No, it's Spell Slinger. I like big X spells. Downside, I only have 3 X spells, but I like them big. But we go playing, and I go infinite through Downside, Dockside, Deadeye Navigator again.
The same combo.
Well, it wasn't through that way of making infinite treasures. I was using them to tap with Urza, so I pretty much played all my best spell singer.
Urza was involved.
Yes,
too.
Urza.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Urza was involved, and like they're playing high power. Like I started off slow. This is like turn 6, 7, and I go off. We finish the game. They all look at me and say, "You should leave." So
Okay, first of all, that's really rude of them to say.
It is.
But
is
like
super
I
rude.
was saying, you were playing the combos that would make people mad, right? And it did make them mad. And I think they're jerks for what way they treated you and the way they acted.
That's fine. I agree with that, but it's also what is considered an infinite combo, because like you have your Ramos deck where you can get almost infinite combos because of your Magecraft stuff. You can't.
Nothing I can do is infinite, but it's enough to end the game, right? Most of the time, and this isn't perfect, but most of the time I would define it as generating repeated value at no cost. Right? So to flicker Dockside Extortionist with Deadeye Navigator costs you 2 mana, but you net gain 4, 5, 6 mana. So your cost is negative. You're generating repeated value at no cost. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that's what I try to personally. That's what I stay away from in all of my decks. I don't put that in any of my decks, just because. Well, I think they're boring, and that's just me. That's just I think it's boring combo because it just comes out of nowhere. Happens.
Okay. Well, I think
But that's just a me thing. That's just a me thing.
I wanted to pause right there.
Don't take offense to that.
I'm not. No, I'm just saying what you see as an infinite combo is now different than a win the game combo. Like, why is that two different things?
So
that's why that makes it unfair, because I have a lot of infinite combos, quote unquote, but it's my Stranger Kids. I'm just making a bunch of clues so I can do stuff with them. That's infinite.
Well, that's why we always make you play it out.
Yeah, and that's fine. Well, a lot of people say once you get multiple turns, they just scoop. They're done. Like, okay, well, I can whiff. I can turn 3. I could pull 3 lands in a row and be done. And so I don't know, when you guys...
You could whiff, and I could whiff on Ramos, and a lot of times I do.
You just take 45-minute turns.
Yeah, but it's all fun for me. But you can whiff, and that's part of what makes it not infinite, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a 0% risk of whiffing with Dockside and Deadeye, but there's a high chance of whiffing if I'm playing spells off the top of my library with Citadel into Magecraft with, Professor Onyx and stuff like that, and I have things generating me mana, like what's his name? The guy that makes you treasure Magecraft.
Stormkill Artist.
Stormkill Artist, stuff like that. Like I can still whiff with all of that, And not only that, it takes a lot more to get the engine rolling.
So as long
I
as
have to have 5 or 6 pieces to get my engine rolling on.
so what you're saying is if a combo has more than like 2 or 3 pieces, you're fine with it.
No, it can whiff. That's what I think is the big part. And so those both come into it though. Like if somebody sees me do that with Ramos, I think I've upset with Ramos doing that even, just kind of storming, playing a storm deck. I've upset some people, and sorry, it's the way I like to play. But
Well, right there
I
though.
think Ramos is one of my weakest decks, and people just don't think that
Okay.
because of the way it wins.
That you just hit on the head, right? Alex Cott saw that. You just said Ramos is one of your weakest decks, but when you play it, it has these combos in it that you win the game. Like the win rate you have on Ramos when it's just a 4-man pod, I feel like is a lot higher than when we do 5-man secret partners. But and now we know to target Ramos, so we've learned to play against it.
The
But
reason,
And that's the problem. Is like we just kill Ramos, his deck apart.
yeah,
But 2-card commander, I think it would make a lot more people salty, including me. Because when you win with Ramos, casting like 7 things to win, in my mind, it's my fault. Because I should have ran more removal, or I should have gotten rid of that creature that's been sitting on the battlefield for 6 turns.
Yeah, I agree with that. That is the same point I'm on. I'm just saying, he says it's his weak powerful deck. We come back to that comment is that's your weak deck, your casual deck. Well, what is casual now?
But when Maddie whips out Demonetization and passes Oracle, that never feels good. And it's always, well, I guess we just...
I guess
This isn't my fault.
What I would say is how fragile my combo is. It's going to be lingering on the battlefield for multiple turns. People are going to kind of see it coming. It's going to be more difficult to pull off. It's extremely fragile, right? But some combos can all start and end on the same turn, and I don't think Ramos will ever be able to do that because of the cost of what. A lot more fragile. It's easier to interact with. There's just so much.
I'm not trying to be like pick point, like fine comb here, but it's you just say what, because I see Ramos. Most people see Ramos, they know it's either a dragon deck, a spellslinger deck. Everyone knows what Ramos is. It's a strong card. I'm not saying it's Urza, what's her name, dwarf. We just talked about her. Magda. It's not those cards where you instantly know, okay, I gotta be ready. But when someone pulls a Ramos deck, you're like, okay, most people know how to build around this. They know what they're doing. But you just say, I put the highest cost spells in it, so it's more casual. Well, I built this land destruction deck, and it's janky, and the mana cost is all over the place, and I'm running maybe too many non-basics, and it's messing me up. But it's janky. Why do I gotta tell you that's what it is?
Because it's one of the taboo.
But it's not taboo for me. Like, I don't see land destruction as taboo. I see theft as taboo. But I can't...
What is taboo?
I see theft.
Theft. Yeah, that's... Everybody does.
A lot of people see theft as taboo.
I tell people played Captain. I used to call it horror tribal. That pissed people off because I never win with horrors. I steal people's stuff.
It's because you become the horror.
So it's my theft. I tell people now it's my theft deck. Because I was pissing people off when I called it my horror tribal deck.
Yeah,
I don't think you hit it on the head earlier, Maddie. You said Commander is a casual format, correct?
Well, it is,
so why do we have to sweat and not tell people what our decks do? Game start.
Because that's the whole mystery. I want to play a game where, okay, what do they got? What's this combo? What are they going to pull out? Is it going to be the most common thing from...
Just tell them you're playing something powerful, and they'll try and pull out something.
So, Maddie's kind of dancing around it, and this is what I like to do when I sit down at a table. I ask, are we here to play for fun, or are we here to actually try to win? And
okay, so as soon as are you talking about winning a prize? Well,
yeah.
Okay, so as soon as there's a prize, you don't get to judge it. It's competitive. Unless the tournament, 100%. Unless you get told that it is casual and they give you a ban list or restriction list, then as soon as there's prizes, it's the most competitive deck I can find. I'm
They're
gonna.
never gonna make you play for prizes and casual.
But that's what I mean.
That's an oxymoron.
That's what I'm saying is, if as soon as you get prizes into, there's no ranking your decks. You've already opened up the floodgates. If I could
Right,
afford
which
to, I would buy a $10,000 Urza deck just to win every Friday Night Magic, so I get promo packs.
That's so.
Yeah, but I win the game in 10 minutes, but now the rest of the night I
you
can
get your
just
50-cent promo.
I can pull an old Gnawbone again. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah. Every now and then. I got a foil assassin's trophy. I think that's the best pull up from. It can happen.
But
A lot of
No,
people
the
still
garbage.
a lot of people still, when they come up to pods that are new pods that are for prizes, they'll still ask for power level. So I think that a lot of people prioritize having a fun game more than winning a promo pack. Me
Well, I
personally,
mean-
I prefer having a fun game back on the line. And I think it's more fun to win a game when my deck is equal power levels as the other decks on the.
Oh,
It's
so
more fun for
okay.
me.
So
I don't
you
like
bring that
blowing
up.
people out of the.
Bring that up. How do you feel about people really strong decks but hold back in less competitive pods? How do you feel? Would you ever do that?
I personally would never ever do this. It's
Okay,
this is
I agree.
personal
personally.
preference again. This is me. I hate playing decks below the level that I can play them, right? If I build a deck, I'm going to play it to the best of my ability, try to win to the best of my ability, no matter what deck I pull out. When I make a deck weaker is when I'm building, not while I'm playing it. And the other problem is so I've had people win and say, okay, sure you won, but maybe I could have won because I was holding back with my deck, but I was just have your fun or something like that.
I let you win.
Personally, that grinds my gears a little bit. That bothers me. I just because it's almost like they take your win away. You know what I mean? Which and some people don't mind this, some people do. So I don't know. But personally, I would rather everybody play to the best, try to win, and then there actually gets validated.
I personally, I 100%, and I actually hate myself when I play my deck. When I have the opportunity to kill that guy, landfall, because landfall doesn't do anything for 7 turns.
And then they win.
And then they win. I'm like, I should have killed you when I had the chance. Should have killed you when I had the chance. No mercy.
But some people, I'm sure Maddie's one of them. They're fine with holding back, but having that win con in their pocket, and just kind of waiting. Like, okay, it's probably okay now for me to do this because they tried to win the game and they were kind of stopped.
Well, we can go back to talking about our tournament, our event that we ran, because we needed people to fill in the casual pod. I sat down with Stranger Kids because it's my most versatile deck. I could win turn 2, turn 3 with Thassa's Oracle Constellation, but I also try to play out the game and see what the pod's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a player that we play with in our playgroup that's still like upset because I had it in my hand. I literally had that win turn 3. I could have won, but I'm one of the event hosts. I'm not gonna win my own tournament. It was for somebody else. They just needed a spot filled, so I held it in hand. And
That feels shitty.
why? No, I don't agree with that.
That sucks. He has a right to be mad.
Why is it? I didn't tell
That's
him.
what I'm saying.
No, I'm not saying I could have won. I got told not to win before a certain turn. So when I could
Let's just say, if you do hold back your win and you end up losing the game, don't spout it out later that you could have won it.
Yeah, no,
which I don't like. Yeah, I don't think you did. But just don't go out and be like, oh, good job, you won. I mean, I could have done this to stop you, but nice job. It's like, okay, thanks for taking my win away from
No,
me.
100%. I'll agree with that, but it's what I'll do. It's not to humble them, but if you when some people don't realize, oh, well, I could have interacted with you, but I didn't want to hear you tirade for the next 30 minutes because I touched your board. And like we all have those people in our play group, and don't get me wrong, they're great because you got to think of that puzzle. Okay, well, I got to kill them in one swing because if I do more than once, then I'm gonna get drowned in whatever they're doing over there. So, but
Yeah.
I won't say I misplay. Like if I get a misplay, I'm still upset about that. Like I agree with that with Alex here. Like if I can't play my deck to its fullest, like I misplay that, I get pissed. Like if I think I have my combo going and I mess up, that pisses me off. But if I'm playing with the group and I can tone down Stranger Kids and not win, but I can ping them all every so often for a couple clues, not make infinite clues, but okay, well I got Marionette Master, I can hit this turn for 4 damage to your face. And then next turn I can attack again, get another clue, do it again. It's just I'd rather do that than oh I can infinite combo. You guys all take 45 damage.
It would bother me knowing that I could have won the game if I played my deck to the best. But again, me and Maddie are very different in the way we play, which is fine.
From the side, I try not to. If there is, what am I trying to say? My decks, sometimes the planets align and I get the perfect god hand in the game. Like a once in a lifetime type thing. I can end the game turn 4 with a deck that I built that wasn't designed to do that. I'll gauge the table, and if I need to, I'll end the game. But if not, I'll hold back and maybe just play those separately from each other so that they don't combo and end the game. But sometimes you just want to get out of a pod. Sometimes the game just needs to end.
And that's the main
You're
reason I
just sick
have.
of them.
Yeah, that's why I have
Yeah.
Thassa's Oracle, Tokimata Contemplation. It's just because I'm like, okay, I'm done with this game. I don't think
See you
I.
later.
I just don't think I've ever casted it turn 3. Like I've never done that because I'm not playing here to do that. I just have it just in case. Because how many games have we been stuck in where it's just, oh, I make 60 tokens. Well, I get 60 life because I have this thing affect me every time you get a creature. I get life, and you're just kind of everybody's just sitting there. It's just a dolly game, and you're like, okay, well, I want to play something else, but I don't want to scoop because like
Yeah.
I'd rather just win and then okay, well, I can play this combo and win. I'm not gonna play it every time, but it's just nice to
Sure.
have. It's like a break the glass button. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
To be
kinda
honest
wanna
with
go ahead.
you, oh, sorry. To be honest with you, I rank my decks higher in power level if they do have an infinite combo or some sort of something that's going to end the game very quickly. Because I absolutely those things out of my lower power deck. Because my lower power decks, I don't want to just out of nowhere. Even if the game is drowning on, chances are someone else is going to go off and end,
See, and
and
that's a double.
I'm fine with that.
That's a double-edged sword, though. I feel like because when we let the games go too long, it kind of sucks. But why, if we don't have a game that's only 15 minutes, we can shuffle up and play again. Like I hate to say it, I'd rather have 6 games instead of 2 games in a night.
Some people like the longer.
Love the long. I will absolutely play through hour-long game night rather than playing half an hour.
I guess that's the difference. The different play styles. I like short. Well, I guess it's different. I like when we do our big pods, like where we do group games. Those ones are fun because they're longer. But most of the time, I'm cool with the game getting done fast. Like literally.
I feel like
Oh.
Maddie was born to play CDH, but for some reason he's playing casual. Everything he says is like, I would
Because all his
enjoy
friends
this,
play
and then
casual.
yeah, true.
What?
It's
Yeah.
kind of funny. It feels like you're just trapped in casual with us, and you want to move up to CDH.
Yeah, you're like, all my friends play casual.
If it's okay with you guys, I did want to go back a little bit because we touched on this lightly about the whole. How do you feel about an extremely powerful commander being in your? Does you just increase the power level of your deck just because you see a powerful commander, or do you trust somebody when they tell you? Because we told you about our experience at Game Grid about how that went, kind of. But what would you guys do if somebody sat down and they had Kenrith? And would you automatically assume that the deck has lots of infinite combos in it, or would you say, okay, maybe they're
It's-
telling the truth, maybe it is a casual deck?
Is it our pod or is it strangers?
Strangers. You've never played against this deck before or met this person.
Well, if that's the case, we shouldn't know who our commanders are until we all reveal at the same time. So, but having a rule 0, if they say I've got a Kenrith, then I'm more happy than to pull out my Timna Sidar deck. I'm more happy to pull Stranger Kids out. I'm not going to pull out my lower powered Monarch deck because I'm still making changes to it. I'm not going to pull out my weaker Shrine deck because, again, still making changes to it. But
So for me, it's whether or not I'm going to see it again or not. If it's like a tournament, ever going to see the person again. If they pull out a strong deck, absolutely.
A strong commander, you're just gonna not
Yeah,
trust
a
them.
strong commander. Yeah, if I see a strong commander, I'm going to pull out a strong. However, if I'm at my LGS, if I've never played with them before, and I'm thinking they might come back.
which, not to interrupt you, I want to shout out our LGS is Gamed In, Leighton.
Yeah, Game Den and Leighton. Don't dox them. Buy stuff from their TC player.
Don't dox them.
If I'm worried that person a lot, I will lose. I will play against it and I will lose. As in, if they tell me that it's budget Kenrith and I end up getting comboed out of the game, I'll just remember that. This deck is good. Next time I play against it, I'm going to swing at him first because I know that his deck is good enough.
Okay, then you
I
said,
think
I want to cut that off, sorry, but the prejudice that you just made of, okay, well, his Kenrith was actually better than he said, but what if he builds another great popular commander like Prosper, but he's still stumbling into the black and red, comboing and playing off your exile, but are you just going to instantly like, oh, well, he's playing Prosper, that's a strong commander, and kill him? How would you feel if you were that player? Like, I'm not trying to be like I feel like that happens all the time. I'll be like, oh, I'm playing this, but you guys know I play a lot of these combo pieces, so I do get focused sometimes, and Jason gets focused. It's obvious, like, certain people will get talked into focusing us, and it's like, okay, well, there's other choices, but is it because we set these prejudices in our mind? Sorry, I just wanted to make sure people, we're not saying set these prejudices. I want having an open mind.
These are our opinions.
Yeah.
We absolutely not do right now. This is just something that I do, and I will absolutely Kenrith player. If he pulls out a different deck and he swears up and down that this one is budget, I'm not gonna keep focusing down just because I think that he lies every time he pulls out a deck.
But what if he pulls out?
May not know that his Kenrith is strong.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, what if you didn't realize? What if you didn't realize that? Like, how many times have you been playing a deck and a combo happens? And you're like, I didn't know I could do this with this deck.
That's happened a couple times.
And you're like,
I would hope that people would read the cards before they play them, though.
You literally just
it still happens.
But you literally
It
just
still
said it happens. I'm just saying, yeah, read the card.
Yeah.
But how many times have we found, like, or we think our combo's gonna happen, but it becomes a nombo. It just stops. And you're like, oh, that's not how this works. And so I just have it hard when curating that prejudice against someone because of their decks, because I did it with someone in our play group. And I feel like it caused a lot of rift between the friendship I tried to make with them. And luckily now we've gone past it and it's better, but because I held that prejudice against the couple decks I played against them, I was like, oh yeah, they're always gonna be aggressive, but it was because that's how they play. And I learned that, and I've now changed. Now if I jump into a random pod and I see that commander, do I have that prejudice like, okay, that commander's super strong?
That's still absolutely warranted, though. If they're being aggressive, they have a habit of killing you. Like, how do you not justify killing first?
Well, I'm not saying if they're playing like that same deck, then yeah, I know to go for them. But if they're like, oh, I just built this deck again, and it's like a whole new deck, then I might be like, okay, well, I'll see how it goes. Like, I'll keep an eye on them more, but I just think instantly pointing, because I mean, so I should do that to Jason. Anytime he plays anything with blue, I need to just be constantly hitting him, countering all his stuff because
Oh,
he's.
absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
all my blue kind.
If this guy has a mana dork and Jason has hands, I'm gonna hit Jason.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
As a matter of fact, I didn't realize I was hitting Jason until Jason blew up at me. Said, "Why do you always hit me first? I have 3 lands." And I realized, oh, right. I subconsciously focus builds better decks. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm just saying I do it on accident.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. No, I get that.
And I have to pull myself back. And honestly, I feel like not having a gut reaction to seeing a commander or like a person that's playing comes with experience. I mean, not to name names, there is a guy in our play group that builds really strong decks. We all know who he is. And he jokes a lot about the fact that it doesn't matter what other people are doing, he just gets focused. And it's because he's known for building really strong decks. Even the ones that he claims are weak, which by his standards are pretty weak, but by our standards, they're pretty impressive. And they do a lot of really cool stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess that begs the question: person is known for building really. Do they warrant getting focused a little bit if they're not doing anything?
I mean, if I'm good friends with them, then why not, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm already good friends with this person, and he built another new deck, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna
You gotta
play
put on
something
the.
strong against it because I've been burned too many times by powerful decks. And when people say, "Oh, it's not that powerful, it's a new deck," I'm just testing it out. I'm like, okay, I'll pull out my weak deck, and then I just get completely obliterated. That's happened to me way too many times for keep doing it. I don't do it anymore.
Okay, I'm gonna cut you off right there and say your weak deck might not be considered weak to some. Like our play group varies in power levels very much. Like your Feldorn deck is considered your weakest deck, right? The
Sure,
XL, your green red one.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that you built it in a way. If you need to, you can also play with higher power decks. But you would say that's your weakest. If you rate,
I don't.
Are you saying that you're prejudiced against Jason decks, Maddie?
No, what I'm saying is, well, you just said having a friend. Okay, well, if we're playing with these people never again or random people, are they really our friends? So I just don't think that's a good thing to use into this. Where, oh, well, our friend. Well, I agree with Alex here. Our friend does build great decks, and I have caught myself so many times focusing him because he might have 3 cards on the battlefield, but he could have this dope infinite combo in his hand that only takes 1 mana. And I'm like, kill him. So. But it's just that there is that prejudice. Once our play group, we played so much with each other, we spend that time. I know the combos you like to build. Alex likes to play aggressive and fast, and so it's like, okay, well, I got to be prepared for the early game with Alex.
Can't catch Tasha on Trevin, Jason.
So that's where I was coming from. It's like we
You got to leave up some blockers, man.
It's really hard to play Tasha against.
Honestly,
it's the same with some of the.
Honestly, to try and kind of put a bow on it, problem is obviously, if I'm staring down the barrel of a gun and they are going to win unless I do something about it, I'm not going to go, okay, I'm going to attack the guy with no. Like, that's just dumb. Unless, I'm just a jerk or I get killed. Happens. But that's a whole nother. I'm more talking about nobody is doing or nobody is doing. Is it warranted swing at the person is known for having a stronger deck than
If you've seen the deck, then definitely. If you haven't seen the deck, then
okay.
if you know, I think you should like we talk about threat assessment a lot, and it's like, okay, based on what's on the board, who is the biggest threat right now? And that's what everybody does. They try to assess the board
But
and target the player with the greatest threat. But if you've seen their deck 12 times and you know that, okay, just because he's not powerful right now, it doesn't mean he's not going to pop off very soon. I've seen it time and time again. I think that should be part of your threat assessment. If you have that knowledge, then you
yeah, I agree with that, especially within our play group. I guess my strategy is I do a quick. I guess I judge it by a quick, judge it by its cover, as I'll look what you're playing and where you're at. But if I know you and I know you build strong decks and I know your combo pieces take like 6 cards and you're already at 3 of them, but you have no lands and there's weird enchantments, then yeah, I'm gonna focus you. I'm gonna come after you because I know next turn you're gonna drop your commander into this enchantment and then you're gonna win. And
Well, that's why I always say, like my Ramos deck, it's I call it a pub stomper deck. If you don't have interaction, you're probably gonna lose to Ramos. But if you have interaction, you're gonna stomp Ramos. He has no chance against decks that interact. But if everybody's just trying to race to the finish, Ramos is gonna win a lot of the time.
that's definitely
Yeah.
true.
Because you just build up advantage over time.
I build up advantage over time, and I build it up faster than most people
Yeah.
to get to the win. I win that race a lot of the time with Ramos. That's why I call it a pub stomper deck. But if you have one removal spell, it sets me back a lot further than back most decks.
I get that. That makes sense to me. Honestly, this whole category, this whole discussion is very vague, and there's a lot of nuances to it. Like, for
Yeah.
instance, a great example. Yesterday, we sat down to play in a pod together, Jason, and there was a person I'd never met before sitting next to Light Paws. Can't remember what the other deck was, Jason.
Um,
Fairies.
was it Alayla?
Yeah, it was Layla. It was blue, black, white, Esper, fairies, enchantments. Whenever
Did
you.
he switch
Oh,
decks after game
yes.
one? Sorry, we
Uh,
shouldn't dive too much
no.
into this.
But basically, what I'm trying to get at is I had played both with you and the guy sitting next. I'd
Mhm.
never played against this other person. However, I know Lightpaw played before because we have a friend that has the deck. I knew in my head that I could race Lightpaws to the finish line with Brevin. Brevin and Lightpaws are both Voltron. You guys would agree, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and Lightpaws doesn't play a whole lot of creatures except Light. So Brevin automatically having Menace, pretty reliable that I could get damage on or and just outright kill them. But in my mind, I had never met them before. I didn't want their experience. Oh, and it was implied that they were gonna coming back to the shop. I didn't want their experience to be this butthole sat down next to me, killed me on turn 4, so I get to sit and watch every magic for 40
Yeah.
minutes.
Well, come on, if you had those
so I
fast
pulled
30-minute games, that would be okay.
Grevin kills one person and falls out. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Sounds like you
Because
need to
people
put.
panic. People panic. You kill one person and then people panic and they get rid of Grevin when they should have got rid of Grevin to begin with, but that's not for
Another
this.
story.
Anyway, yeah, another story. Anyway, I purposefully chose a deck that I know dirtles a lot and doesn't do much because I wanted the game. Wanted a and Jason, you chose one of your weaker decks too. Do that on purpose or play what you wanted to?
A little bit of both. I didn't want to play an extremely powerful deck because there was a new person or not a new player, but a new person playing with us, and I had recently modified it a little bit. So I wanted.
Exactly. And that's I feel like we had a good game. Wasn't great for you guys, but it was pretty good for me.
It was
I
fun.
stole your commander, held on to it. But at no point I feel like I was gonna right. Like even when I became a threat, there really was only one piece on my And if you guys would have gotten rid of it, gone right back to dirtling again because I have my um
Yes, my
honestly
commander
uh, a 1/4 that
doesn't do anything for you.
yeah, that synergizes off of it. I had like 0.
Yeah.
Um so I had a lot of fun. The game went really long. Got to see a lot of that person's deck and I had a good time.
Yeah, it was fine.
Tell 'em about the next game.
The next game we got comboed out, which see what I mean? So if we're sitting in a pod and I have the opportunity to at one of 3 players, if Maddie is sitting in that pod, I will swing because in his pile of cards, he will have anywhere between 4 or 5 combos. Just end the game immediately. So I know
Out
that
of nowhere.
if I don't get out of nowhere, if I don't get rid of him, I don't get to play Magic anymore.
All right, let's talk about one more.
Would you agree with that, Maddie?
I would
There's
yes and no.
there's a couple of
Yeah,
play groups that are like that. They have a stack of cards. They don't synergize with each other except to combo and end the game.
yeah, it's true. There is, but like that's not all my decks do. Yes, I have combos in them, and that's how I win usually. But it's like I also will swing. I'll attack. I don't just sit there playing solitaire.
I'll swing Beamtown Bullies too because it's got vigilance.
Well, that's what
how I win.
Well, I know that's what I
Vigilance
mean. Is like
plays.
we're willing to put our. We're not those people that are playing solitaire. Don't touch my board. Like they freak out if you do. If you play Aura Shards against my Shrine deck, cool. You shut me down, but I will try to come back from it. I'll
See
find
you later,
something.
man.
But
See you next game. Yeah.
what do
I
you?
want to talk.
Before-
One more quick thing that we should talk about, I think, is how do you guys evaluate how powerful your deck? And I'll start by talking about Elminster again, since we kind of know what that deck does now. I like to look at 2 very specific things whenever I evaluate the deck. So the first thing would be how does it win the game? Second thing will be how efficiently does it accomplish that goal? So with Elminster, how does it win the game? It uses Mass Polymorph to get the big creatures out, like we've talked about. Not really the strongest, fastest, best way to win a game. You know, it's not an infinite combo. It can whiff, it can miss. It doesn't always work. It's not the most efficient way to win a game. However, it's extremely efficient at doing it because I take those extra turns and I get to do that consistently on turn 3, 4, 5. That's where the power comes from. So if you mix those 2 things together, I think I have a very powerful Elminster deck because of how efficiently it wins the game, even though it's not using the most powerful strategy to win the game. However, I have another deck. We talked about it lightly, Baldorn. It has a very kind of powerful way to win the game, which is playing cards from exile, which is it's kind of a strong mechanic. It gets you a lot more value. It gets you a lot more cards that you can utilize. It basically makes your hand a lot bigger, and then I overrun the board with cards that I play from exile. That's kind of a strong mechanic, right? However, this is not very efficient at it. It takes a lot more mana to do it than other things would. It's a lot slower at it. So based on the efficiency, it's not very powerful. So I wanted to kind of talk about how would you guys gauge the power level of your
Mine is I'll go from one to the other depending on day on my deck because there's a discussion to be had about the you
For
can
sure.
make your deck by adding tutors. However, kind of make the deck boring in my opinion. That's not like an official WotC, but I don't like running. I would rather run card draw so I can deck.
Mhm.
So really, it's just a roll of the dice on whether my deck does what I designed it to. If I can get Jeska and triple Grevin's damage on 3, it's going to kill the board unless someone can kill Grevin. However, if I dirtle and I don't get the I need, the deck's gonna look like a soft 2 because it's not gonna do anything. Well as it really depends on what cards my opponents are playing. Removal interaction in general is highly recommended the higher rank commander. However, I would argue that having too much removal, having too just as bad because are running cards that are dealing decks rather than health. You're not furthering your own board, putting their boards, right? So even in the best scenario, you're still trading hard. They're doing. So you're still going down a card. So in the right remove, play gravy. It's not going at all. It's going to look like a terrible deck. But if I'm playing against doesn't get graveyard removed, then I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him very efficient. All I need is monster, any monster that's bad for him in my graveyard to give to him, and he's dead. Doesn't matter as a huge board stake. If I give him leveler, game's over, right? So the way I look at it is, can this deck win or turn 4? Or at the very least, kill someone before turn 4? And how or how hard is the how fragile is that's the word. How fragile is
Yeah.
and I would say that's how fragile is it, how consistent, and can it kill someone?
That makes sense. Yeah.
I don't know why I chose. It's literally what I look at whenever I build a deck. Is this deck doing what I want by turn 4? I don't know why I chose turn 4. It's an arbitrary number, but that's the way.
Because turn 3 and below is CDH.
There you go.
So you want to be just below CD.
Just below. Yeah.
I'm kind of the same way with Alex. Like, I have some decks that if I don't get the right pieces, it just looks like, well, what am I doing? Like, you guys have both seen me play games where I've got one land, but all my fast mana to get me everywhere, but I can't get anything else because I only have one of my colors. But I judge a deck by not necessarily the cards, but what is the synergies to it? Are they impressive synergies? Like one of my original stacks was a bunch of low power hate bearers and just shuts the board down. Then I play Kamal and they all get buffed up and I just attack with tramples. And most people weren't ready for that, and it did good when it went off, but half the time it didn't go off, so I just kind of sat there awkwardly. And now I've made changes to it where it's okay. Well, now you can't block my creatures because we're in the late game and you have these big strong creatures. Well, I can swing with my little guys, get my value, and then get my combo pieces. So and that's why I do more combos. So how efficiently can I get to these combos? Yes, I'm not putting all my tutors in, but okay. Well, if I put 2 tutors in, I can choose what kind of cards do I need in the situation. That's why I look at it more as how can I make this respond to different situations, not just one. When okay, search this card, I win every time. Okay, well I could search for this card, this card, this card, and change how the game goes. I'd rather have that option. That's how I build my decks and evaluate them. It depends on how many options it has. If it's only got the one win con, I got to focus on it. I would say it's lower power because I don't like that style of play. I'd rather play with, well, I've got 6 win cons. I've got 2 pieces of 3 of them. How am I going to play this? I like those kind of puzzles. So
Sounds like we mentioned a lot of consistency,
Yeah.
a lot of how it wins, I
And how
mentioned
reliable is
how
the win?
reliable is the win, yeah, and how
Yeah.
efficient is it? I
Mm.
would say, yeah, when you're trying to rate your deck, I would look at those things. I would look at the mechanics it's trying to accomplish and how efficiently and how safely. I think safely is a good word. How safely
Oh,
can you accomplish these goals? Like how much interaction do you have to protect your goal?
so that's I was gonna bring that up actually. Thought of in these efficient decks, like the deck is very efficient winning, so you're allowed to run more action or protection to protect that efficient win, right?
Yeah.
In Greven, it's not very efficient because I have to life, I have to have some like damage doubler, and if I want the game to be fun, I have to have right because I'm gonna run out of life for everybody.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of category to satisfy in a deck for it to work. However, Toontown Bullies, I really only need my commander and a bad creature graveyard. That's it to win, or at least kill somebody, right?
Hmm.
Which means that the efficiency is so high that I can then run every protection, every
You
tutor
can
that puts
run
something in my graveyard.
a lot of interaction.
Yes, a ton of interaction. I can run every board wipe imaginable to make sure nobody else gets anything that would prevent me from winning because of how efficient combo is. And I think you hit it on the head, Jason. That's what's wrong. How efficient does it win? So therefore, I can afford to splurge into
Perfect.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think
like Rocco. Rocco gets you literally any creature in the deck, right?
well, you got to pay
So
the
you can
cost for it.
right, yeah, but once you've paid the cost, you can get on.
Mm-hmm.
So you can afford to run all of the actions because you have a man zone.
Mm.
Yes, it's a creature too. Still,
Creatures
creatures are good.
are. All
There's
right.
this stigma that creatures aren't good, but they are good. They're easy to remove, but who cares? Win the game instead.
With combos,
All right, so to put a bow
infinite
on
turns.
it, everything everything is hard, but Commander's fun, and you should play Commander with friends.
And us.
Sweet. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
Also, before we head out, just a quick announcement. We're working to get together to start doing spell table for people. Definitely something, so follow us and keep updated on our Twitter for that.
Play against our bad decks.
Everybody have a good night.
You can lose to Maddie's combos.
Combo, combo, combo,
Good
combo.
night.